last panel that shall be talking about delivering digital financial services that meet the needs of women across Africa. I would like to invite Jane Stroucken, the Senior Program Manager at Infitext, and she'll be moderating this particular panel. Many thanks. A hand of applause as she comes to be able to marshal the debate. Thank you.
This is the graveyard shift. I hope you're all wide awake and you're going to listen to the wonderful voices of the women who are going to join me on the stage. So can I please invite Jemima and Stella and Annabelle, Joanita, and Gloryjoy, who I know is here. So I'm going to just introduce myself first. My name is Jane Stroucken. I am the Senior Program Manager and Agile Coach at Infitext. We do a lot of supporting of the Mojulib community and work in the digital financial space. We are very honored to be here. My colleague, Dr. Warren Carew, is here as well. And we are delighted to share in this event with Innocent and the High Peepo gang. Ladies, can I ask you each to introduce yourselves? Just give your names and who you are and what your interest and focus is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Gloryjoy Nti-Obeng. I come all the way from Ghana. I am the Country Operations Manager for Jumo, Ghana. I particularly am interested in financial inclusion, specifically looking at its focus on women. I'm an entrepreneur besides my 9-to-5. So in everything I do, I want to make sure that other women just like me are able to get the necessary resources in order to make them, economically viable and economically stable. So that is what pushes me and that is what drives me.
Thank you.
Great. I'm Jemima Kariuki, and I'm the Chief Product Officer at MTN. Reminder, we won the most coveted prize, MTN Momo. I am passionate about building products. I feel like it's the one thing that I probably could do without a salary. That's how much I'm passionate about it, and even more so for the women. So very happy to be here today.
Thank you, Jemima.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Stella Lugalambi from Hamwe, East Africa. We were in the same category in day one. Yeah, I'm a co-founder and managing director for Hamwe East Africa. Hamwe East Africa works with the last mile. We work with rural settings, getting records for women of the agriculture value chain and all the other things they do. Most of the times, people, when you ask them, have you ever talked to someone in a rural setting? I remember one time said, oh yeah, from Nansana. Nansana is not a rural setting. So when I talk about rural, I mean, these are people who are off the grid. And so we've been working with the telecoms. We are partners with MTN, with telecoms to see that they actually get connected. They get on the grid. And when that fails, we've also come up with offline solutions with our applications that actually they can access their wallets offline. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to be here today, especially next to winners. Yeah, so my name is Joanita Asio Banda, and I do work for Stanbic Bank, head production services, basically leading the team that looks after the IT infrastructure and our digital transformation efforts in that space. I also do lead the Women in Tech initiative at the bank, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. I have one question that I would like you all to think about as we have this conversation. And that is, who are the people who will effect the changes that we need to meet the needs of the women in Africa? Because we can talk a lot about these things need to happen and they need to do and this must be done. But who are the people who will do the doing? So that's That's my question to you all. First question, ladies. What are some of the barriers women face in accessing and using financial services in Africa? And how can digital solutions address these challenges? Would you like to start? Okay. Jemima? Oh, well, you want to go? Go for it. No, go.
I don't mind.
Okay, some of the barriers women face, there is a whole big range. First, they don't own property. Most of them don't own the land they are living on. Even if they are given, it becomes clan land. Secondly, they don't have digital identities. So they can't walk into a commercial bank and say, okay, this is my statement of works. I planted 3 acres of land. I made 7 million Uganda shillings. Can you give me a loan? The banks they will want collateral. So these are really big challenges to them. And even if they try to make their simple savings and put it together, sometimes they have problems like medical, they don't have insurance, they don't have, they are single. Actually, we have almost 200 million African women who can't access because of some of the problems. They have kids they are supposed to feed, and then they don't even have a way of even selling some of the few things they have because no one will give them the price, the way they are dressed. Someone like, okay, the way you're dressed. I've even seen rich people negotiating with the tomatoes that she's selling. They don't want to give her value. And so most of the times we are requesting we look at the challenges and we're like, okay, they don't have collateral, they don't have this. So at our company as Hamwe, we've decided to use data as a way of them to access money. So we get your farming records. You farm, we get your records, we see how you transact. Do you buy fertilizer? That is recorded. Do you actually buy seeds? That's recorded. So when you walk into a bank, you show the data that actually I earn money, I buy these things. Can you use my data after 2 seasons, which is like a year, and give me some debit, some credit?
Right.
And we're saying that the credit shouldn't be cash even. Can you give a fertilizer company some credit, and then they give me fertilizer, and I use my credit. Yeah, we have also come up with some solutions like checkout system. When a farmer brings three bags of maize, you can give them credit over phone. You can give them gumboots. You can give them things that they don't have to have cash. So we've gone into these partnerships to try and help. But of course, we are also requesting and saying, if a country like Uganda or in Africa at large can decide to formalize every person, digitize every African woman, and have their records, then it would be easier for them to access commercial loans. Thank you.
There's a challenge. Digitize every African woman. Wow.
You profile them. What's wrong with that? You can put capital in that. Yeah.
Mama.
So I would say we've made improvements. I'd like to believe like in the last, say, 10, 15 years, we've made improvements, right? So we're not at the same place we were when our parents or, like my mom. I can't put myself in the same place, right? Because I think there's been a focus on the girl child, and I think companies are alive to the fact that women have to be included. So yes, there are barriers, but I think we need to acknowledge that there's been progress, right? But beyond that, I think when it comes to barriers, the onus is on us, and maybe to even answer the question that you asked, the onus is on us as corporates, companies who are coming up with products, for example, to consider that woman, that rural woman that she's spoken about. How do I reach out with the products that I come up with? So it starts with perhaps the design of the product. How do I make sure that it actually gets to her hand? If I'm talking about using a mobile phone, we know primarily that men or the male figure of the house would be the ones with that mobile phone, yet it's the same channel I'm using to get to this woman of the house, right? So how do I make sure that I can use the right channel to get to that lady? Do we use different I don't know, maybe a community engagement, ways in which you can be able to find that lady. I think it's also in the communication of our products. So for example, you can either use mainstream media, which is likely not going to get to that rural customer, or maybe word of mouth, which is more likely to get to the lady in the community. So I think it starts with us. It starts with how we craft our products, the channels we use to get the product to the woman, and finally the communication. How do I get them to get involved? So yeah, I would say, fixing the barriers is possible, but it starts with how we build these products.
Gloryjoy?
Okay, and to add to what the ladies have said, I will touch on the non-tangible aspect of it, which is the behavior, right, aspect, where naturally women are inherently risk averse as opposed to men. So you can have a product that, a general product, but you'd realize that women tend to deselect themselves from utilizing these products, again, because of the way we are. So in designing these products, we need to be very deliberate in terms of how to overcome those challenges. When designing the products, we have to be deliberate. We need to understand the woman, and we need to understand that, again, women as a whole, we are not a monolith, right? So if you are serving a woman in the rural area, you need to understand that woman and build a product that serves their need. Thank you.
All right, thanks for the question, Jen. Trust issues and security are still a big deal. And this morning, the first group of panelists that we had did speak a lot, to that, to say that, oh yes, this is technology. And it's like there's an invisible person in between that is sort of guiding the transaction. So I have to trust this invisible person. So what we see in Africa, and I'm sure for a couple of countries, is that women tend to keep money in very interesting places. Even the corporate ladies here, I'm sure when you're going downtown, you tend to keep your money in particular places because you're thinking it will be stolen. You're really keeping it very close to you and guarding it. So when it comes to the digital space and digital financial services, there's this perception that, how sure am I that I'm actually transacting within, secure confines, so to speak. So trust issues and security issues then bar us from actively getting involved in, the digital financial services ecosystem. And technology really helps a lot to give you that level of comfort. For every transaction you do, for example, our friends from MTN do send us, SMS alerts. If you're using FlexiPay from Stanbic, you'll also get those alerts whenever you've done a transaction to sort of give you the sense that, yes, whatever transaction you are trying to do has actually reached the destination it ought to. But even the pins, think about the pins when you're transacting. That also gives you a level of confidence that actually there's security being considered here and there. But also the other thing maybe I would talk to is the infrastructure challenge. And again, the ladies in the first panel did bring that out quite clearly. We do see today, and this is data according to the digital transformation roadmap that Steve on the last panel talked about. Today we've got an internet penetration level in Uganda specifically of 43%. So what that then means is that there are still areas where connectivity and internet, which is very much needed for us to, to serve our communities when it comes to digital financial services. There's still a challenge in there. I should say that a lot of work has been done, to be honest, and we do commend the different service providers that have played a key role in that space, but it's to say that there's still much more that we can do together. And the fact that at a national level, these are conversations that are being held, to say that in the next 5 years, according to this roadmap that the government, together with different partners are looking at, we want to make sure that we've got internet penetration of 60%. We want to make sure that we're talking 4G, 5G, 6G, and so on and so forth. I think that's comforting. And digitally, that should be able to solve for that, such that we have more, women included in this. Thank you.
Great. Now, I know this question was one that Gloryjoy was desperate to answer, so we'll start with you. How can digital financial services be designed to specifically meet the needs of women in Africa? And what are some of the key considerations in this process?
Okay, thank you, Jane. To answer this, I'll touch on just a few. So first of all, it has to be very simple, right? The UI, that is the user interface, has to be, again, very simple, very clear. The language has to be very clear. And it has to be user-friendly as well. I'll give you an example. So I am a trader, besides my 9 to 5, like I said. So in Ghana, I import children clothing on a wholesale. And I had 2 suppliers that I was considering for an importation from Turkey. Now, one had a system where you go on a website, you click, you pay, and it's shipped to you. The other one had a website, but they also had a system where you could interact with a human being, right? So for me, the main decision as to who I went with was the fact that one had a digital solution and an interface where I could engage with someone, right? I am giving out tens of thousands of dollars. I want to make sure that I'm talking to someone. I need to make sure that there's that connection, there's that trust, right? And even in the selection of the products, there was that simplicity in there. And I went for that. So it's very important that when designing products for women, it has to be very simple. The language has to be very simple. The user interface has to work perfectly. And again, I'll cite the example of Jumo Ghana. Across the different territories that we have, Jumo Ghana has or drives the largest volume as far as revenue is concerned. And we have a very healthy penetration of women, again, because of the medium through which we offer our products. We are very deliberate in the language we use in communicating to customers. So these are very important factors that we need to consider. Then in the process, I will talk about the HCD, which is the human-centered design, which looks at centricity. So you need to understand your user as a person and design a solution that fits their need. Thirdly, it needs to be, your innovation has to be small and scalable. So don't think of the most complex solution you can think of. Just solve one problem at a time and just build on that. So in terms of the process, that is what I will add to that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I can chime in and very closely related to what you've mentioned. I think the aspect of building for the woman has to start with who's building, right? Who's that doing the development? Yes. Who's that doing the design? If you've got a bunch of men seated trying to build an app, for example, that's supposed to be used by women, then you're likely going to get it wrong. I remember reading a case study about a car manufacturing company. I don't know whether it was Volvo or one of them. And they did a crash test. And it was primarily on the seat belt back in the 1940s. And they realized that the seat belt was designed with a man in mind. So when they put the woman there, or a woman body dummy there, it did not work as expected. I think the failure rate was like I think about 50%, whereas for a man, it would protect him up to 90%. And the reason behind it is because it was just men doing the design. So I think in our world of digital, we need to look at the teams that we're hiring, right? And making sure that you have a good diversity. And that way you have that woman in mind when you're doing your UI and your UX. Yeah. Thank you.
And we do love the men, so don't worry. It's just that they don't think like women.
Yeah.
Juanita, do you want to go?
Yeah. So after listening, we do human-centered designing at our office. It's a tech company, 90%. So when we realized that we couldn't access that woman, we went down to the villages and we recruited what we call digital community entrepreneurs. These are women and young men who are in the community, who help skill them about the system and the solution. And like she said, if it is working, it has to be very simple. Remember, they don't have smartphones, so forget about the app. Use the USSD, use SMS, use the language that they have, and then they will learn to use, because once they adapt, they're not going back. We've had problems where when we sit with them and you ask, there's a bank down there, why don't you have an account? You say when you enter there, there's intimidation. You look, everybody's looking at you in a very tough way. When I was younger, I worked at Walmart in US, and there was a people greeter. You enter and someone is greeting you and you feel welcome. So our commercial banks don't have that aspect for women in Africa. If I went to, I was talking to women in Morocco, the bank is full of men, how am I going? And they said there's money for women there. She can't approach a man. They haven't hired a woman to sit there, put a big signpost, says Mukazi, woman. Then I approach her, she's smiling, maybe she's looking good, I can talk. And if we want them to be encouraged, we need to focus on them. And we're here, Stand Big. Do you have a people greeter for women? Do you have a section? There's another bank that actually says they have women. It's hidden on the side. You never even read. And then they charge you extra money to just be part of the woman. So we're saying, if you're going to work with women, like they're saying, build the products and also do the work, not only the talk. I put money on my phone on Sunday to buy airtime with one of the telecoms. I'm not mentioning one. So I went through their menus. I couldn't find a human to talk to. I tried all the 9 segments up to the end. And I'm thinking, is there a woman, if I lose my money and I'm in the village, will I have this time? There was no person on all of them. So you go 1, you listen, do this, turn 10, do this. So that they have automated this, but then they are not looking at the woman. I am in a hurry. I bought my airtime of 1,000 to call someone. It has gone missing. I just want someone to help me, but I have to go through all these things. And at the end, you don't get someone to talk to. So without that human interfacing, if we want the women to come and be part of the financial inclusion, the digital world, we first have to go slowly, have a human interface, and let them be able to explain.
And build their confidence.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And build their
Jemima,
confidence, yeah.
This leads very nicely into the next question, which is how can digital financial services be used to empower women entrepreneurs and support their business in Africa?
From what we've seen so far as a bank, most of the women entrepreneurs that we've interacted with really are looking for credit facilities. And yeah, they want to grow from, where they are now. They want to expand. And how does digital then come into play? So we do think around credit, for example, as one of the ways digital comes in, to say that even as you come together, especially in the rural areas, and you've come together as circles, you've come together as village savings and lending associations, how do we then create systems for you such that you're able to get credit? And once you're getting this credit through these systems we've created for you, you're able to see how much you owe digitally, how much you've paid so far, but importantly, you're able to use the money that you've gotten to do what you want to do. So that's one of the ways that, we could support digitally the female entrepreneurs.
So I would give an example. So again, back in Ghana, so we run customer stories. We try to understand how our product, and again, we offer credit solutions on mobile money. And because mobile money has a very deep penetration in Ghana, of course, when you render such a service on there, you need to understand whether there's impact. So I have spoken with quite a number of women who can attest to how our product, for example, as a fintech product, as a digital product, has been able to change their lives. I remember I spoke with one lady that I think it was a research we were doing, and it was around customers that were showing very healthy behavior. That is, they take the loan and they pay back on time, right? And this woman was part of it. And I remember in talking to her, she was telling me where or how her situation was before the product came into play. And again, our product is a pioneer product in Ghana. There really isn't any USSD-based credit solution in there. So she talked about how then it was very difficult for her to put her son through school. She's a trader. But in being able to apply for a loan, like it's sometimes Ghanaians, like you literally have to pinch people, or they have to pinch themselves to realize that this solution is actually real. The fact that I can pick up a phone, go through a journey like a mobile money journey, and be able to take credit, physical money, right? And she was talking about how she used this product, invested the money she got into her business, ran it for a period, right, for maybe a year or two. Because of this, she's able to put her children through school. And a project that she was working on, which was building a house, she's been able to complete it. So she was even making suggestions as to how we can create solutions that is more in a community form. Women like to be in communities. Yeah. So create a solution where I know I have a few of my female market women in that port, and we come together and, just create a solution, a digital solution for us. So I think it is a very, very important driver. In one of the panel conversations, I think a question was asked in respect to the banks and fintech and the competition in there. I think fintech is an enabler. It is just to enable what the banks currently do. And because of fintech solutions, because of DFS, this digital financial solutions, we've been able to penetrate the masses that I don't think as Africa as a whole, we would have been able to do that. I saw this document in Ghana where we had a target of getting financial inclusion to 85%. Thanks to MTN Mobile Money, we are now at, I think, 93%, thanks to DFS, thanks to digital financial solutions. So certainly, we cannot underestimate the effort of digital financial solutions in how it supports women. Thank you.
Thank you. Jemima?
I don't know if my panelists agree with me, but what we've noted is that women are the best payers as far as credit is concerned. And they're also loyal. So if you look at the products that you take to market, you find, if you're really looking around the demography of gender, you can clearly see who stays with you the longest. So I think the onus is on us to also come up with competitive products that are probably charged differently. So, the interest you charge, maybe the men would be different from the women because they've already proven to be better customers for you. So I think it's in small things like that. And we're already in partnership with a lot of banks, Jumo, etc. So I think those are the ways in which we could come together to actually serve this woman.
That's using a bit of incentive as well.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, yeah. When you look at women entrepreneurs, they always start very little. And so accessing money becomes a little bit of a problem. Look at the market woman, because I'm really looking at the masses here. They need an equivalent of $100 a day to serve and cook, and she can pay at the end of the day. Can we have those kinds of solutions? Because I'm not borrowing $10,000. I want $100, and I will make $140 at the end of the day. Who can lend me that money? So those are the kinds of products that actually will improve these women entrepreneurs because they have so much to give. And if you actually go in the market and give that loan, at the end of the day, you make more money than giving one person taking $10,000 because you will be giving them. So are we going to build these products are we going to have, I one time had a conversation with the regulator. They're still using old-fashioned rules. The regulator tells the bank, pay 2% here, 3% here, 3% here, insurance, everything. You're not going to encourage the woman entrepreneur when you're doing those kinds of things. Can we at least innovate around regulation so that the commercial bank is also not fitted? Because our commercial bank, there's already a cut, gives nothing less than 7%. So how is he going to give 7% to an entrepreneur? He has to give 17%. Because when you add all the little things they're adding to you, the escrow, how much you should have, then you end up, the least you can give her is 13%. She can't survive like that. So we need to see how we can change these old-fashioned rules that actually don't work for the African woman entrepreneur.
I would love you to just for a moment or two go back to your original point around the collateral that rural women have available to them, and whether it would be possible to innovate around that kind of collateral and their need for $100 rather than, $10,000 and 17% interest.
Yeah, I'm actually glad to say that we are in partnership with Stanbic, and we are working around the woman farmer being able to access credit without having any collateral. Their collateral is the data. You've been farming for 4 years. We have that data. You can show that actually I make my money. So we are starting something that is actually good with that kind of partnership.
And that is a digital service.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
One last question before I get on to the very last question is partnerships. What is your view, each of you, on the value of partnerships and particularly different stakeholders in trying to enable women to move from where they are to where they're trying to go or where they aspirationally want to go? Who are the key people in those partnerships that we need to bring on board into a digital journey?
Okay.
Anybody can go.
You can go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say what we're really good at MTN is partnership. I can say that out loud because I think we are partners with each party here. One in particular that I am really proud of is the partnership we have with Clinic Pesa. And I think we have one of our partners here as well. And it's powerful in the sense that, Clinic Pesa is a health product. And when you think about health products and you're taking it to market, you'll notice the people who sign on are women because of our nurturing nature, right? So you think about your kids, you think about your husband, you think about yourself, and you want a product that would allow you to save for those days when you really need the money, right? So for us, harnessing a partnership like that, MTN could go out and try and build a health product on our own, but will we succeed? I don't think so. It comes with people who understand health, have the connections, because this is a product that had to go to the rural areas, be able to put them together in, you go different districts, put them all together, talk about this product, have them sign up, and then support them through that journey. That is not something that we'd be able to do because it's not our core capability, it's not our core service. So for me, it's harnessing the power of partnership to take your products to the next level.
I would maybe also speak to, first of all, partnerships are really, really, really important if you want to scale on this agenda. Mm-hmm. A very key partner that comes to mind is government in any country, because, they make the rules, they make the regulations, and you want to have regulations and rules that foster this, that accelerate this whole digital transformation agenda. So it's not only even when it comes to regulation, and this is still on partnerships with government, but when we are talking things like infrastructure, it has to be on a government's development plan. Otherwise, you won't have the skill that you're looking for. So government is really key. And if you're looking at the fact that you have to deal with cultural, barriers and restrictions, you want to have them, in your corner, so to speak. Yeah, thank you.
Briefly, for me, besides the obvious collaborations and the obvious partnerships, I think we need to also look at the customer as a partner. So, for example, in Ghana, I understand that sometimes these communities have, I think I alluded to it earlier, they have key influencers in there that understand the users or the women and are able to explain their challenges much better than even the women are able to, right? So in all the collaboration, I believe we need to try and find a way to bring these people into the space and have a very, very in-depth dialogue with them, to understand their needs, then inculcate that into whatever product or service it is that we are designing. So for me, the collaboration and the partnership which you've said, MTN, the regulator, the banks, specifically for Ghana, I think there are other aspects of the partnership that we might need to explore or consider.
When we come to talk about partnerships, I'm looking at the players in the field, business-to-business partnerships, but we also incorporate the government. I can give you an example. We serviced 87,000 tea farmers in Rwanda with Momo Pay, with MTN. And the government gave MTN the loan, because if you get a loan of $1 million and split it into 87,000, it's a nightmare when it comes to collecting the different fees that the government asks. But here, the women pickers, they pick tea. I run a tea farm, but I don't have daily money to pay them. But they are all MTN subscribers or Airtel subscribers, and they can borrow. Now, when they borrow that money, you understand, you don't put on the actual, because I'm giving you as government my money. You're not going to use the actual charges you use for Momo. But we are using the channel in that partnership. And that was after a conversation with these tea farmers. The tea is a very sensitive thing, to a fact that if I miss picking today because I didn't have 20 shillings to give someone, it becomes a problem. So like she says, partnerships should be B2B and then B2C, and we incorporate the government. They are very, very key, because the kind of products you're building for women need innovating around. I know people saying the woman child is being looked at. I have applied so many grants that say a woman will be given this money. I've never gotten it. Because at some point they want this. At one time they said I should have at least used 1.5 million. My company had just dollars. And the grant is for women. Nobody I know got any of that money. So 2% are getting it. We need to innovate around there and make sure that if you want to incorporate us, it's business to customer. Let's all have a conversation, and I tell you, look here, I have only made $200,000. If you're putting up a grant, why are you giving me a threshold that I can't do? If I can't do it, that means other women won't be able to access that. Thank you.
So true. Thank you. So I hope you all remember the question I asked at the beginning of this discussion, because it needs an answer. And I think what we've heard from these amazing ladies today is that there is so much discussion that is needed around women and bringing women into not just opportunities. There's education, there's health, there's such an array of activities that are needed to support women to get out of the place of being unbanked, uneducated, dependent people. And I would like to thank you, ladies, for your fabulous contribution. And I wish we had another 3 hours, because I think we could sit and chat for another 3 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.